Well, good evening. Welcome to Sunday Night Thoughts for July 12th, 2020. Um, it's been a gorgeous day here in Eldred, and as you can see, I'm standing in the sanctuary this afternoon, actually this evening, and you can most of the light you see is actually just beautiful sunlight streaming in from the outside. Just a gorgeous day, a great break from the humidity. We have had Buffalo, which is 2 hours north of us, but most of the western New York region, and even though we're in northern Pennsylvania, we are considered a part of the western New York region. We have been suffering from a great heat wave over the last 8 days. Buffalo on Friday set a heat wave record, 8 days in a row over 90 degrees, and they even set a couple daily records during that time. It's just been brutally hot, and then the humidity came in at the end of the week, just making things really uncomfortable. But this morning, a cold front came through. The humidity levels dropped, the dew points dropped, and just made today just a really nice day. And so we've enjoyed a beautiful day. Got up, it was 60-ish with fog, which usually comes in about this time of year. During the summer, it's called all of a sudden the name escapes me. But it was a beautiful day. It's been an interesting week, a good week. We've been on Zoom calls with a couple things. I was on a good call with my DS this week. We had a good talk. Earlier this week, we also had a chat with some of our local clergy friends who pastor other churches in our community, and we had a great conversation and talking about just the various minister things, and it was good. And we're continuing to pray for our local ministers as they minister. Then Friday, James and I took a little bit of a road trip. We went to eastern New York, kind of went back to sort of our old stomping grounds, north of Albany. His roommate was getting married. His roommate from college was getting married, and so we went over there. And Saturday morning, we had a lot of extra time on our hands, so we went back into our old stomping grounds, Saratoga region, Glens Falls, and then even went into Fort Edward and right by our old church, which was kind of disappointing because last year they had a flood. Even while our first year at Fort Miller, there was a flood, and at that time the church was able to recover, and we were able to have. We actually did 5 years of ministry there before God called us on. But this time they had the flood. They had to just completely gut the buildings. And then coronavirus came along. They were meeting in a hotel. Coronavirus came along, and I pretty much was sad to see a church that I have fond memories of, and was sad to see the building for sale when we went by. I took a picture of it, and then we went over to Greenwich, where I worked at Radio Shack. The Radio Shack, obviously, Radio Shacks don't exist anymore. But the Kmart had been being replaced by a Big Lots, and the Dollar General had become quite the store. I remember when they moved in there. So it was just a real interesting. And then we left there and went over to Schuylerville. I got to see one of the former. She is now a former minister. She retired, but one of the ministers that we worked with when we lived in that area for community services. So that was good to see. And then we went down to the Saratoga battlefield, which is the turning point of the Revolutionary War. Even got to see the Philip Schuyler House. And if you know anything about the musical Hamilton, Philip Schuyler's sisters play a big role in the whole thing. So it was kind of neat to see history. Then we kind of wandered down. We did get to go to Five Guys. We haven't been to Five Guys in 4 years, so that was kind of cool. And then we also went to a place called Jersey Mike's Subs. That was fun. And James enjoyed his friend's wedding, and I enjoyed just kind of hanging out, not having to do too much. So it was a lot of fun. And then we got home last night, actually this morning, 1 o'clock this morning. Tried to fall asleep and then get ready for a big day today. This was the first day that we were back in the church building in about 17 weeks. March 15th was the last time we had worship in here, and so it was kind of different. It is definitely different, and it was a different kind of service, a more contemplative service. Designed it that way on purpose, and we're going to continue to move forward, see what God has in store for us. And I preached from James this morning. Continue to preach to James. This would be the fourth message. We had three. We did a kind of a starter message. Then we did 3 weeks in the first chapter of James, and this was the second. This was the first week in the second chapter of James. And we're going to do next week. We're going to be in James. Probably finish up the second chapter next week, and then try to do 2 chapters a week. I mean, 1 chapter, 2 weeks per chapter. So we'll be probably mid-September by the time we're done with this particular series. So, people have often said that James is, or Martin Luther was often told that this was an epistle of straw. But as holiness people, I find that James is really, it's really quite the holiness book. He really lays it on the line about faith and action and obedience to God's word, the perfect law. And one of the things unique this morning was when you're preaching online, you don't get any feedback. When we were preaching outside, when I was preaching outside, it was kind of hard to hear if there was any feedback, if anybody was thinking anything. But inside I could hear it, and a couple times I kind of asked for input, and at first they were kind of quiet. And I said, hey, it's nice to hear your input again. It's been so long since we've been together. And another thing is, last week I was having, the last 2 weeks before we came inside, I was having some weird stuff with the sound system, and went to set up this week in here, and I plugged in one of the cables, and I'm like, what's going on? And it turns out I had a bad mic cable, because I've got powered speakers, so the mic cables go between the speakers and the mixer, and turns out I had a bad mic cable. Here I was trying to pulling out what little hair I have left, trying to put that together. But that's about all I got for tonight. That's a lot, isn't it? So Sweetwater did a great job. I love working with Sweetwater Sound. They did an exchange for me, sending a new cable, and so I'm getting a new cable. So that'll be great. I'll have everything back working the way it certainly does. Pays to buy cables that have a lifetime warranty, so that's taken care of. So I think that's going to be about wrap it up tonight. I hope you have a great week. We got summer school, so I'll be driving school buses this week. So we'll see how that goes. Socially distance the kids on the bus, and see how that goes. So anyway, you have a great week. Good night and God bless.